it's Rachel, and in this video I'm going to be doing the random number generator challenge where I use the number generator on Google to find a random number, and in doing so I pick an animal and a dessert from these lists here. And then once I have my animal and my dessert, I then have to combine those two things, nouns, ideas, to make a polymer clay charm. These videos are always lots of fun to make, and I do actually have a few more that I've already filmed and made and uploaded to my channel. So you can check those out if you'd like to. I'll leave them linked down in the description box below. And I guess let's get started and move on to the number generator. Now we're going to find out what I'm going to be making. So here is my list of desserts, and then up the top here I've got my list of animals, and I've also got the random number generator open. So in the list of animals there are 32 in total, so I've just popped this into the generator, and the first animal I'm going to be making is number 17, which is a leopard. I then need to change this number to 37 because that's the total amount of desserts I can have, and I'm going to be mixing a leopard with number 35, which is a tart. So for my second charm, my animal is going to be number 12, which is a hedgehog. And the dessert I'm mixing with a hedgehog is number 2 on the dessert list, which is a banana split. And then the final creation I'm going to be making, so for the animal, it's number 13, which is a jellyfish. Oh, I have done this one before. But the dessert this time I'm going to be mixing with a jellyfish is number 19, which is an ice cream cake. Okay, so we've got a jellyfish and an ice cream cake. So the first thing I did was sketch up my designs on my iPad using the app Procreate. I started off with the leopard tart, and I thought it would look really cute if the leopard was kind of in the center of the tart, and then there was a bunch of fruit around him. For the hedgehog banana split, I did think about this idea for a little bit, and it was a bit hard to think of an idea at the start, but I ended up going with making the hedgehog an actual ice cream scoop, and I thought it would be the chocolate one in the center. Then finally we have the jellyfish ice cream cake, and I came up with the idea of the jellyfish being the melted ice cream on top. So first up, I'm going to be creating the mixture of the leopard and the tart. So here I have my ecru colored clay, and I'm beginning by shaping this clay into the tart base. So here you can just see that I'm rolling the clay out on my work surface and I'm flattening it down. And this is pretty much just a very flat cupcake base kind of shape. Here I'm using my needle tool and I'm adding indents all around the side, and then I'm using my toothbrush to give it some realistic texture before then going in with my fluffy paintbrush and a mixture of my brown chalk pastel shavings, and I'm just brushing this all over the clay to make it look like the base has been nice and cooked. I then also made to do the very edges on the top of the tart as well because I wasn't sure if I would see that part in the final design. Then here I'm beginning to work on the leopard's head, so you can see I've already attached on some ears, and then I'm just creating the face. I started off with a light coloured muzzle in the centre, and then I'm adding the eyes, which are just 2 balls of black clay. I'm then creating a mouth on the muzzle nose kind of part, and I also added a nose and some cheeks off camera. You can see here that I've also attached on a tail, and then I actually trimmed off the very bottom of the head so I had a flat surface and it would easily sit on my tart, and then I just connected the leopard head onto the base. I've then taken my Sculpey Bacon Bond and I'm adding some of this around the edge of the tart, and this is where I'm going to be connecting on my little raspberries, and I'm just making sure that they're going to be nice and secure. So to create the raspberries, I began with some really small balls of red clay, and then I'm just rolling this clay around in some translucent red micro marbles to give them that raspberry look. And this was actually the very first time that I've tried this particular technique, and I did really love the way it turned out, and the little micro marbles stuck really well to the clay, and it didn't really take too long to make the raspberries at all. So once I had made all the raspberries, it was then just a matter of positioning them all the way around the leopard on the tart, and you can see here that I actually ended up using my pair of tweezers just to be a little bit more precise because they were quite small and it was very hard to hold on to them. Then for some decoration on top, I've made a little coil of whipped cream using some white coloured clay, and then finally I've placed a raspberry in the centre of that. To turn this little guy into a charm, I ended up adding an eye pin, and then it was time to bake it in my oven. And then after it had been baked and cooled down, it was then time to go in with some paint and begin actually making it look like a leopard by adding the spots. So I'm just using normal acrylic paint, and I began with a lighter brown color, and then here I'm going in with a darker brown and just adding a few more little patches around those light brown patches. So here are the final results of my leopard fruit tart creation, and I'm really happy with the way this design turned out. You can see that I've also added some glaze after baking as well, just to mainly protect the paint. I love the little details of the raspberries and also the spots on the leopard, and overall I really love this design and how it turned out. Next up, we have the mixture of a hedgehog and a banana split. Now, like I was saying at the beginning of the video, I was originally really stuck for an idea, but then I came up with a genius plan to make the hedgehog an actual ice cream scoop. And of course, it was going to be the chocolate one. So this design kind of just made itself and came together really nicely. I began by working on the plate to sit the banana split on, and then here I'm making the actual banana with some light yellow colored clay, and I'm adding some texture before then adding the banana to the grey granite plate. I then moved on to creating my ice cream scoops. So here I've got the pink one rolled into a ball, and I just have the clay attached to the end of my rolling pin so that I can easily move it around and add all the texture that I need to. I'm firstly adding some texture with my needle tool, and then I'm going in with a ball of aluminium foil and also my toothbrush to add texture to the top part of it. I then pretty much did the exact same thing to create a vanilla colored ice cream scoop as well, and then here I've moved on to creating the actual hedgehog. So I began by creating the hedgehog's body and adding on the facial features like the eyes and the nose, before then moving on to rolling out all the little brown spikes using some brown polymer clay. Once I had kind of divided up this clay and rolled it all into balls, I then created teardrops so that they actually had a spike or a point, and then I added them onto my hedgehog. I started off with using the larger ones at the back of the body, and then I slowly got smaller in size as I moved to the front of the face. I'm then adding my hedgehog onto the banana, and I also positioned on some little front paws as well, so it kind of looks like he's hanging over the edge. It was then time to start adding on all the little decorations, so I've positioned my ice cream scoops on either side of the hedgehog, and I'm also beginning to add the little coils of whipped cream as well as the cherries. I added these onto both of the ice cream scoops, and I wasn't sure if I was going to add it onto the hedgehog or not because it was a little bit difficult with the spikes, but I did end up managing. Now, in this video clip, you can actually see me removing the ice cream scoops because I felt like it needed a little bit more detail in the dessert. So what I've done is create a dark brown liquid clay mixture to kind of look like some chocolate syrup, and I wanted to position this underneath the ice cream scoops. So I did have to gently remove them, but it all worked well and they're fine, and all I had to do was add them back on into the liquid clay. Because this design is quite large, I decided to leave it as a figurine, and then this is what it looks like after baking once it's completely finished. I'm really happy with the final outcome. You can see by looking at the back of the design that I did actually have to add an extra ice cream scoop just to hold up the little hedgehog because I found that he kept sliding off the back and I needed a way to kind of support him. So that's why there's a random little ice cream scoop, but other than that, I'm really happy with the way it came out, and I also love how symmetrical this design is as well. And then the final design I'm attempting to create is a mixture of a jellyfish and an ice cream cake. So my idea for this was, instead of creating a traditional kind of ice cream cake, I wanted to create a taller kind of cake with a melted ice cream design on top. And my idea was that the melting ice cream part would actually be the jellyfish's tentacles. So you did just see me create the base or the stand for the cake to make it look really professional and everything. And then here I just have some aluminium foil, and I'm rolling this into a cylinder, and this is going to become the center of my cake. I decided to do this just so I'm not using as much clay and the design isn't also too heavy either. I took some scrap clay and mixed it all together, and I rolled this out into a large sheet on my work surface, and then I'm just using this to cover up the aluminium foil. It was then time to choose the color that I wanted my cake frosting to be, and I made this really nice pastel blue color using some blue polymer clay and some liquid clay as well. So I'm just spreading this all over my cake and trying to make it look nice and neat as well. Once all my blue frosting was on, it was then time to create the other kind of ganache or the melting ice cream part. So again, I've got some more liquid clay and I'm mixing in some chalk pastel shavings to get the exact color that I want, which is kind of like a dusty pink color. I ended up using Sculpey Bacon Bond for this part because it is a nice thick liquid clay and you can control the drips a little bit more. And then it was just a matter of spreading it all over the top of the cake and then gently dripping it down the sides as well. I then decided that I wanted to add some actual tentacles to the cake just to get the message across that this is a jellyfish on top and it's not just a random dripping ice cream. So I have twirled some clay together and I'm just positioning on these as well as the little ice cream scoop that I created, and I've gone ahead and put a face on it for the jellyfish. To create the ice cream cone or the waffle cone, I'm using this plastic plate to add some texture, and I rolled my clay flat onto it and then I cut it into a kind of a triangular shape which I could then shape into a cone. I also wanted to give it a little bit of shading to make it look more realistic, so here I'm just dusting it with my chalk pastels, and then it was just a matter of adding this onto the jellyfish ice cream scoop and making sure it was nice and secure. The last thing I wanted to do for a little bit of decoration and extra colour was to add some rainbow sprinkles. So it's a little bit hard to see in this footage, but I do have some very thin coils of rainbow coloured clay which I'm just trimming to size, and then I'm positioning the sprinkles onto the cake design. Again, I left this piece as a figurine because it was quite large, so I decided not to add an eye pin, and then this is what it looks like after baking. I'm pretty happy with how this one came out and I really love the concept. The only thing that kind of bugs me is that the left eye looks a little bit droopy compared to the other eye, but overall I am pretty happy with this design. And then of course, here's just a shot of all my designs that I've created for this number generator challenge today. So that was all the charms that I made in this video. Please let me know down in the comments which one you like the most. I forgot which video. I forgot what charms I made for this video. If you did enjoy this video, please don't forget to give it a big thumbs up and also subscribe to my channel for lots more crafty videos. And I'll see you next time. Bye guys.